What a joy to be here. Such an honor. Thank you, Randy, for inviting me, and Pat for taking such good care of us, and to my beloved friends, Rami and Barbara, for partnering with me, and Owen and Molly and Eugene. Oh my goodness. I just want to bring you guys with me everywhere I go. Okay? Thank you. So I'm going to read you a passage from Wild Mercy, my new book. Look at this cover, right? Erin Currier is the artist. She's really an incredible human being and activist artist who's doing a lot of work with painting other activist artists, musicians and writers and people working on the front lines of justice, peace and justice, and is really capturing the essence of the subtitle of my book is, what is it? Oh, Living the Fierce and Tender Wisdom of the Women Mystics. And Erin Currier is really, wouldn't you say, just capturing the quintessence of the fierceness and tenderness of women. You know, for a very long time, I felt, as probably many of you do, and as well-meaning older white dudes often suggest to me whenever I give a talk, that God is beyond gender. Like they you know, just explain that to me in case I hadn't considered that possibility. Every talk, 100%. So if that question is bubbling up and you just avoid the temptation. I'll get it out of the way. I too always believed and still do that absolute reality is absolute, that the ground of being, that the supreme, that the one is beyond any descriptors and certainly gender. And another one that well-meaning white dudes wonder about after I give a talk is often, aren't you worried that then you'll skew things in the direction of the feminine and it'll be out of balance the other way? And I just wonder if he's been paying attention. But it would take about 5,000 years, I think, to come to any kind of middle ground. So no, I'm not worried about skewing things in the other direction. And in fact, what I'm finding, this is one of the reasons I resonate so much with Rabbi Rami's work, is that of course, the one transcends all description, is the very ground of being, and its essence is love. But when in order to experience the holy, we need each other, and there is a way in which the feminine serves as a vital opening, a gateway to immanence, to the presence of the holy in all of us. It's the feminine is the essence of embodiment, of connection, of both loving kindness and beautiful chaos. That the masculine paradigm across the world's religious traditions has often emphasized getting up and out of here, you know, that vertical ascension, that erectile dysfunction that takes us away, splits us off. It judges matter and embodiment as somehow unholy. And the feminine brings us back to the holy ground of embodiment, of spirit pouring into matter and rendering everything sacred. And so in Wild Mercy, and I think really in a lot of the work that is coming to me and through me these days, it's not about embodiment and immanence as opposed to transcendence and ascension into that real space that is available to all of us just beyond the appearance of things. It's not like the masculine is just about peeling the veil away, Plato's cave where the prisoner who's been shackled with all the other prisoners to the floor of the cave. You know that one? Plato's allegory of the cave. They're prisoners, they're shackled, they're chained to the floor of a cave. They can only see in front of them at the cave wall, and behind them is this manipulation going on, this shadow play of fire and puppets projecting onto the wall of the cave all of this drama, and they're throwing their voices and they're creating all the, it's the evil genius kind of allegory. And the prisoners think that that's all that's real. And then one day, one of the prisoners manages to break free, and I make her a she escapes the cave. She climbs up and out into the real world and sees how things really are and sees the real light. And that is an allegory that we've inherited in the Western world, that somehow all this that we see and feel and experience through our five senses is somehow an illusion. And one day we will become liberated, saved, and we will see what's really real. The rest of that allegory goes that prisoner, like a good bodhisattva, comes back down into the cave to tell her friends, I've seen the light, really seen the light, and it's not all what you think it is. And they, of course, think she's crazy, and Plato says they'd kill her if they could for telling the truth. So, like you, I have inherited this, I think, rather patriarchal message and really bought it hook, line, and sinker, that this world, they even call it, in Sufism, it's called the relative world, is not really real. The real world is beyond what we experience through our five senses and through our relationships with other deluded beings in this realm. And that one day we will wake up. The feminine suggests that this is the Holy Land, right here. These bodies, these families, these marriages, these communities, these presidents and political figures who are affecting our lives, that actually our task as human beings is to become more fully, deeply human, rather than to get the hell out of here as quickly as possible and tell everybody else that they're tripping if they think that this is real. So the feminine for me is about reclaiming all embodiment as holy. That's why Julian of Norwich, the great medieval English mystic, speaks of Christ as the mother. You know that, right? Christ the mother. God, sometimes God the mother, she says. It's a miracle that she wasn't executed for, the fact that she dared to write at all, that she dared to write in the vernacular. She was the first person other than Chaucer, contemporary of Chaucer, to write in English, but she hid her writings under her bed, and they were rescued after she died and kept secret for centuries. That's how heretical it was. It's not like she just was so brave that she was very brave, but to speak of God the Mother, are you kidding me? She also said there's no such thing as sin. You know that? Sin is no thing, she said, literally. But the reason Julian says Christ has to be a woman, has to be a feminine being, is because only a mother would break herself open and pour herself out for love of her children. Incarnation itself is an act of mother love. Isn't that beautiful? So it's not that the feminine is against transcendence. It's that the feminine is about welcoming everything. So the whole contemporary non-dual movement gets very dualistic in asserting that any experience of duality, which includes devotion, loving and yearning for union with the beloved, is somehow an illusion. The feminine says duality and non-duality abide in the same open field of the heart. So I'm just going to read you a little something from Wild Mercy, just for fun. And then we're going to reclaim two wisdom teachings from two different spiritual traditions we're going to look at them through the lens of the feminine and take them back. Because as Rami so eloquently said this morning, the feminine wisdom has been intentionally buried and silenced across the world's religions, because the religious traditions in and of themselves are patriarchal structures, right? Am I just making that up, or have you noticed that? It's very much about power and control and order, and the religions are filled with beautiful jewels as well. And I don't want to throw away those jewels when we drain the water in the bathtub of toxic religiosity.